and welcome to another video guide for a build by me, Corp.Shephard. This time I wanted to focus on something a little different, or at least not a very popular company for the U.S. forces. It's Recon Support. This is a company that I got a lot in the alpha, so I actually quite like, and I'm just going to start the game up. But I will admit, it's not the best. It's not in the best spot right now. But I think it's a challenging company. It's an interesting company, and maybe you've just gotten this company as a drop, and you're just trying to figure out how to use it. Maybe this guy can help you, right? This is an unconventional, well, a little bit more unconventional build than most of my other builds. It's sort of really been brainstorming and trying to figure out how to use this doctrine's unique advantages without crippling myself, and just try a different build in general. So still working through it, still trying to figure it out. So let's just jump into the build, and we can watch some of my early game tactics as well. So the build is 2 riflemen after your initial rear echelon, and then a bit of an oddity, we're going to pick up a second rear echelon, which is definitely. You haven't really seen this a lot ever since volley fire got nerfed. You can still kind of use volley fire, I do in my games, but it's not nearly as reliable, right? So 2 rear echelons, you might think it's kind of a waste, but I think that this build benefits quite a bit from them. We're going to use our rear echelons as sort of a dedicated AT unit, so we can free up our riflemen for anti-infantry. We're going to put all of our bazookas, and we're going to be using the bazooka upgrade in this build, on the rear echelon squad, which actually helps it get veterancy and gets quite strong very quickly. Because the rear echelons are cheap, so they have a low veterancy requirement, and bazookas do a lot of damage if they hit armored units, right? So it works out okay. So the biggest weakness of this is that your early game presence goes down a lot when you don't have 3 riflemen, right? This initial battle is like I'm trying to pick off. He's actually doing a really good job of playing coy here. I'm trying to create a stable base of fire with my riflemen and focus down the Stern Pioneers, which are the real threat in this fight. But I can't. He's hiding behind terrain. He's keeping me dancing instead of doing damage to these bulks. I'm bringing around my rear echelon troops, and I'm about to. So, all right. Did you see that? I activated volley fire on these Volks Grenadiers, and I'm going to charge while they're distracted. Volley fire is still going. This is maybe not the most well-known thing, but it doesn't go away when you stop. If you move or you cancel it, it just keeps going. So I'm trying to focus down the Stern Pioneers over here, and boom. Because I was at such an extreme short range for most of the attack, and I charged those Volks when they weren't prepared, I actually get the suppression off, which means this squad's not going to be doing anything. It's going to be eating dirt for most of this fight. So I really want to focus down these Stern Pioneers. So I'm moving up the yellow cover to try and finish them off. But now I realize that I'm massively overextended, right? There are 2 Volk squads. I didn't expect a 3rd Volk squad so early. I've got this one locked down with my rear echelon, but it's not enough, right? So I'm going to try and fall back here. Almost got this, pushed out this Stern Pioneer, but it's going to live to see another day. I'm going to speed this back up. Trying to sort of punish this guy while he's suppressed, being a rear echelon squad's complete garbage. My second one comes up. It's fair to note that I built a fuel cache during this. I think that's a decent choice. One of the nice things about getting the rear echelon squad, and I use volley fire again. This time he's a little wise to it and just backs off. If he had stayed in the field, I would have definitely suppressed another squad, and I probably would have picked on that squad with my riflemen, but I don't get to. I don't really want to charge these guys in green cover, so I basically just realized, hey, I'm stuck, right? I can't really charge these guys in their cover with 2 rear echelons and a rifle. I can't do anything else, but it's kind of okay. We're holding our resources. I've sort of greedily made this cache. And you can see that I've got my lieutenant. This was not the fastest lieutenant. I was distracted by all the fighting. I was microing my rear echelons, trying to get the best out of it. So we want to get this lieutenant up pretty quick. It's usually a good idea to get your ambulance out too during this time. But the nice thing about the rear echelons, the reason we're picking them up basically is we want to get multiple maybe not even multiple, but we want to get this 50 cal machine gun really early, and so that takes a lot of manpower. Essentially, the build our plan is to ramp up into a strong force early game. We have a kind of a weak first battle, but our second battle is really strong because we're going to have a lieutenant. We're going to have a 50 cal, which does wonderful work, very strong MG. But most notably, we're going to also save a little bit of manpower for our Greyhound. The Greyhound at 3 CPs is kind of bad, I'm not going to lie. It takes a while to get. That was a huge mistake, waiting way too long with that rear echelon. Definitely going to pay for that in the long run. The rear echelons are actually kind of important here. But, you know, I've got my lieutenant now. I'm going to use this lieutenant to do, this squad's really weak, and I see that, and I say, if I can get into the green cover, I'm just going to waste the squad almost instantly, right? And that's almost exactly what happens here. So he tries to retreat, doesn't quite pay off for him. I was hoping I could charge these guys into yellow cover and then take the close range battle, but I can't. You can see I'm really on the back foot after losing that rear echelon squad. That was really bad. I suggest with this build, which is basically rifleman, rear echelon, lieutenant, get your MG really fast and sort of stall until you get it. Basically, it's hard to force these fights without it. This is probably what makes this build so unconventional, is that you're not using the full potential of your early game, right? Rifleman, really strong early game. You can do a lot of damage. You can push a lot of people out. If I'd done a 3 rifle build, I might have been able to push this guy out of those resources. I don't know. He's playing quite well. This is a smart tactical Ober Commando West player. He's using his Volks very wisely. He's kiting me. He's trying to keep distance. So I really do commend him here. Severance here is playing quite well. He's even building sandbag walls there, which is a really great plan. Trying to exploit this dead cover area and force me at the worst range possible. So my plan right here is basically draw these Volks with this and just focus sort of like a blob down upon these Volks. And once I take their green cover, I'll have a staging platform to fight these guys, right? So focus fire, steal their cover. I see these guys are coming up, and here's another neat trick. The 50 cal is basically a Maxim, but better, right? Except for it has less people. I was just attack moving this to the front, which is just something you should always be doing. But because I'm attack moving this, it catches the enemy Panzer Fusilier flank right up the ass with this 50 cal, and it's screwed. That squad is not going to be doing anything. It's going to sit there and crawl until it dies. Now, normally this is when I would pick up my Greyhound, but I see that he's got a Puma out. Building the Greyhound into a Puma is a really bad idea. It's not an incredible unit for fighting that, right? So I'm not going to. I'm going to pick up my bazooka research instead. This is kind of what we use to take on Pumas. It's a little sloppy, but I mean, it's not nearly as useful as like an AT gun. It's not nearly as reliable, I should say. They're quite useful bazookas. I actually do like them. But you can see here I've got my 50 cal, and this thing's a suppression monster, right? I'm doing some switching here, so I'm like clicking on the Panzer Fusiliers, and then I'm clicking on this squad, and then I'm clicking on this squad. But I suppressed almost all of them first burst, and every other squad that I was working on before is just getting pinned, right? The 50 cal is incredible, basically, and we're going to be using it a lot with this build. But you can see I'm really struggling over here. My ally Sephirim here, he's starting to. It looks like he's about to make an aggressive action, which is kind of bad. Generally, when you're doing a 2v2, you want to time your attacks together. Like he's going in now, which means if my opponent is wise, he can shift resources over to help, and now he's getting 2v1, right? There's a Panzer Fusiliers entering the battle. Sephirim's fighting an uphill battle, just as I was fighting an uphill battle against 2 people over there. This is exactly what you don't want to do, but, you know, this is a random 2v2. We're not under any sort of voice communication, so we're just sort of operating by ourselves. So I lost my second rear echelon. I only have this one. So I have to equip one of my rifle squads with bazookas. generally with this strategy, you take your two rear echelon squads and you give them double bazookas around this timing, right? And you'd also have a Greyhound, and that solidifies your mid-game force because you have the Greyhound to deal with infantry. Your rear echelons are certainly pretty excellent anti-tank troops, but they're at least gonna be sandbag busters here. And then you have your MG and your lieutenant squad. My computer froze up there for a second. And those are like your hardcore anti-infantry. And you still have your rifleman squad just sort of doing what it needs to. So I pop the sprint ability. I see him getting flanked, so I just set down my MG here. Very wisely, he jumps into green cover to stall the suppression. So I'm going to engage him in a close-range battle. This rifle squad does have a bazooka, but it's dangerous enough to force him out. And now he's suppressed. I'm going to win that battle. I'm using my rear echelons to pressure this Puma, but it's quite dangerous. The enemy's double teaming me again. Once again, we're exercising really bad 2v2 tactics here. But it's almost okay that they're bunching up because I have this MG, so I rotate my MG again. This squad is probably in trouble. Yeah, I think he's about to throw a grenade. I hear the grenade noise. And my 50 cal wipes the squad while he's panicking with his Panzer Grenadiers, which is really excellent. But he can't fight me. Like, the Axis aren't actually that used to having American MGs facing them down. So while he's trying to execute good flanks, it's basically like fighting a Maxim, though. It's really hard to flank it with just conventional tactics. You usually need to bring, like, he needs to bring his Puma up, but he can't because I have the bazookas. He needs to bring, like, indirect fire, like a mortar, but he doesn't get a mortar because he's fighting Americans. Why would you get a mortar against Americans? They don't sit there and cover as much. They don't have, you know, just sort of static guns, usually. They're just a lot of riflemen with bars rushing all over you, right? Not this strategy, though. I guess that's an advantage in a sense, is that the enemies won't always react that well to this because it's sort of unconventional. You're almost playing it like a German. You're using riflemen to hold your flanks while your 50 cal is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And this is a 14 kill 50 cal already. And it's been on the field for maybe, like, I don't know, 5 minutes, which is pretty incredible. It picks off troops real nice, even one on the retreat there. So, because I don't get the, my Greyhound because I'm afraid of the Puma, I'm gonna get an M8A1. And the M8A1, kind of a monster of a tank. I really like the M8A1, and you'll probably see why over the course of this game. Something to note here is that with your dual rear echelons, you can build tank traps. And tank traps give green cover, for the American ones do. So a little tank traps and a little barbed wire is basically as good as a sandbag wall. So just keep that in mind. You can see I'm building green cover for my MG. I just want to give it a good position here. And my M8A1 here has arrived. You might be asking, isn't it really bad to get an M8A1 when there's a Puma on the field? It's kind of bad, but realistically, the M8A1 is really good at punishing heavy infantry forces, and that's exactly what we're going to be seeing with the Panzer Fusilier player. But more often than not, you just want 2 M8A1s as a standard thing with this build. You can see I'm getting like 2 out at the 12-minute mark. This is really good. This is one of the advantages of having this fuel cost. It's one of the advantages of having a really low fuel starter. So he's putting pressure on here. I've got my bazookas. Unfortunately, one squad's retreating. I really think I could have probably taken this thing, or at least escaped it, but I got stuck on a tree. It was really bad micro on my part. Didn't really realize that this tree was going to block me so much. So that's also a big mistake, really, is that I should have had more bazookas at the front. You can now see that I've converted every squad into bazookas. And this is something that you're probably going to do into the mid to late game. You're going to start converting your squads into bazookas, and you're going to let your MG, your lieutenant, and your M8A1s / Greyhound do the heavy lifting with killing infantry. And they're all really good at it. So this tactic does require a certain amount of precision. You have to be careful with your infantry units, and you have to be careful with all the units, right? You need your bazookas in the right place to fight the Pumas and the other armor, and you need your HMG in the right place to make sure your bazookas don't get overrun. You know, even with this is still actually only a 1 bazooka squad. I believe this is probably a 2 bazooka squad. No, it's only 1 bazooka. Even with these squads laid out as they are, they're still better than Volks at the right ranges, right? So they're still going to do pretty well. I've got a bombardment going down on this defensive position here. The M8A1 is starting to clean that up. That's going to give me a lot of pressure. And basically, you're going to create a solid defensive position with your bazookas and your MG. And you're just going to pound the ever-living shit out of the enemy with the M8A1s. And I'm building a second one because I lost the first one. It's a Scrub Lord. And once again, he has to try and flank me, but Americans are really good at close range. So I just moved my lieutenant over, and I'm great, right? I kill that squad. I hear that walking stupid, and I panic. I try to get my lieutenant out. He was aiming for the machine gun, which is a really good idea. The machine gun can't reposition nearly fast enough to escape, unless I'm really on top of my game, but I'm not. So I'm using my rear echelons, and look. These rear echelons are already vet 3 because they're hitting the Puma with these bazookas a lot. And whenever they get a bazooka shot on a Puma, they get incredible chunks of their veterancy because they're such a shallow veteran unit. So it makes rear echelons into an actually really solid squad. I think I was being a little brazen here because I knew the Puma was hurt. And I kind of wanted to bait it out, actually, because they've got so many bazookas here. If they tried to force a fight, I would win. But I didn't get it. He wasn't taking it, so I was just going to take the shots while I had the chance. The other thing you want to pick up mid-game or late game is the INR Pathfinders. And these are key. You really want to get them out when your M8A1s are coming out. You're going to see the M8A1s scaring the shit out of these advantages. They're blowing up like 4 of them on retreat. M8A1s are super crazy. But your IR Pathfinders are there to make sure that basically your M8A1s always have a target. You always have superior vision. Like, I can see all of his movements right now because I've got these stealth INR Pathfinders sitting here in mid. And that's going to give me a chance to say, I want to bombard the shit out of this pack. I can do that, right? This is the power of Recon Support. You could do this with your riflemen when they're in cover. They get the forward observers bonus. This is the scouting power. You see I get a little greedy. I try and use an artillery barrage in this pack. I want to destroy it. He's already trying to run for my M8A1s, though, so it's a complete whiff. Bit of a mistake there. This is another thing that I change up. I'm going to slow things down so I can sort of explain the build a bit. My major. I was using my major for a retreat point. And then I saw the walking Stuka first bombardment. I said, it's too dangerous, right? I'm just going to have my major on the front line. I'm going to let him soak up experience. You know, that's what major does. He's not any good, really, even when he does get the experience. But it's something for him to do, right? I probably should have given him a bazooka, to be honest. You know, a little extra anti-tank never hurts. But I didn't, so. The INR Pathfinders, they're pretty much useless against infantry. They don't have the instant kill rifles that the other Pathfinders have. They're only a 3-man squad. You can see I popped the retreat point for a quick retreat just because, I don't know, I didn't want those guys to go all the way home. I wanted to keep their scouting potential there. That's something you can do as long as the major's around. You can just kind of use them as a very forward retreat point. But I realize that I'm getting massively double-teamed, and I just need to cede ground, right? I've got the intelligence advantage, and I've got the ranged advantage here. I've got the M8A1s. As long as I keep eyes on the enemy, I'm just going to slowly pelt them to death. I can hear that horrible screeching sound of a Stuka coming in again. This time it's on my allies. I'm kind of panicking. I'm trying to spread my forces out here. You can see I took a wide battle line in an attempt to avoid a line attack. This is a bit of a ballsy battle by me. I'm going to slow it down. I'm focusing the Puma down, and I drop the INR Pathfinder bombardment right here. And this is something, M8A1s are actually really good against the Pumas. They don't have enough armor to resist the shells, which most things do. And there's that INR Pathfinder barrage.
hits so fast. It hits with such... It doesn't look that fast at this speed, but it hits with such ferocity. I really like it. But this is still a bad position, right? My M8A1s, they're kind of doing what they need to do, but the Stooges are coming in. Basically, I just need to get back. I rebuild my 50 cal. I need the 50 cal. You can see that he was blobbing a lot there, and I didn't have the 50 cal to control him, so things got real rough. But yeah, once again, I have enough intel here from, I don't know, magical spotting corpses. And I'm just using my bombardment power. I'm just getting a couple extra casualties. You have to be cautious with this strategy. You're going to be using your range. You're going to be using your troops at a long range. You're going to be trying to out-snipe the enemy more often than not. With things like your 50 cal and your inmate A1s. And also your Jackson. And that's what I'm going to pick up as my third tank. Technically fourth tank because I lost my first inmate A1, but the Jackson's just what I need as insurance. It's getting late into the game. He's got the ability to bring in a Tiger if he has that doctrine, the austere player does. So I want something heavy hitting. Bazookas aren't going to cut it against a Tiger. They might cut it against a Panzer IV in the numbers that I've got them, but they're not going to cut it. These are the, yes, it is a Tiger doctrine. It's the mechanized assault doctrine. So the Jackson is there to do that. It's also a way for me to punish this Puma if I can ever fucking catch it. But you can see here, I'm using my A1s, and once again, I'm just stalling the battle out. Taking a slow fight over here, getting hit by a ridiculously good Welcome to the Barrage. And I'm killing a pack, I'm killing all the units surrounding it. I'm trying to pressure the Puma with my rear echelons. It's back into the corner. A rifleman squad with bazookas gets it. It's really great. I decided to finish it off with my rear echelons. I don't want to try and recruit that. I don't want him to recruit it. And, you know, it's just slow bombardment. Trying to fight my best. These battles are really rough. You can see he's not paying enough attention. The MAA-1s wiped that squad. They're still really incredible, this unit. And they're just bombarding things with their crazy super attacks. This hero MGs on one man is working as magic. I'm keeping my Pathfinders in the battle as long as possible to keep vision, because as soon as they're gone, I can't pressure the enemy any longer. The MAA-1s are going to go silent. I'm going to have to use my bombardment power. I'm going to have to start guessing, and I don't want to do that. I just want to, you know, have the vision up constantly. I want to be able to spot the enemy and hammer their positions all the time. This strategy gives you a lot of uptime on your units, right? Your inmate A1s are always going to be firing on something, hopefully. That's the idea. That's the strength, right? That's what you want to try and do. Because otherwise, they're not that incredible. You can see I'm going to use a recon sweep here. This is somewhat to sate my own curiosity. It's also to look for a good target, but I'm really curious to see if he has a Tiger. That's what I'm really concerned about. It's pretty much one of the most dangerous things that he could have right now. I see that he doesn't. I spot this MG out, and I'm like, just with my bombardment while I'm waiting for my forces to catch up, I'm going to knock that out. That's going to give my riflemen a lot of room. The MAA-1s are doing a wonderful job of pounding it just into oblivion. Now that that's done, I shift targets to this Volksgrenadier squad. And now I built two MGs. I just needed the second MG to exert a bit more control. I'm going to set down, I didn't actually want to pause. I'm going to set down two overlapping fields of fire. One in this field and one over this victory point. This is basically going to lock the map down for me. This is going to give my Jackson a lot of room. I set hold fire on because I don't want to shoot infantry because Jackson's a bitch. But unfortunately I don't have enough vision right now. I could be punishing that. I take a shot in the dark with an attack round, but it doesn't work. And now I need more intel, right? I'm trying to bring up my Pathfinders, but not really getting them up in time. So without enough intel, it's sort of dangerous. And repositioning, I'm going to start
refocus my forces on this field. I'm using another recon sweep so I can see what's happening. I see a stoop is moving up. It's probably going to start bombing me soon. But finally my Pathfinder's arriving. My MG is attack moving forward. My M8A1s are going to start laying into this suppressed infantry, which is something that they're very good at. You can see that it's really paying off. It's really hard for him to do anything against this force with these units, right? I suspect that he's saving up for a Yag Tiger. I see a Tiger in the middle, and that's not great. But I also see that my ally is trying to engage it heavily. So with that flank under control, I'm going to move up with my Jackson and very carefully just start sniping at it from this angle. One penetrating hit. But it's too dangerous. There are a lot of Stoogs back there. I know he's got AT guns, so I'm not going to go in and chase after it. I need to preserve my units. I do have a lot of fuel right now, but if I lose this Jackson, it puts me at a severe disadvantage in the near future. So you just take things slow. Once again, I use another scouting run. I say, where is his actually heavy stuff? I see that most of it's fallen back, trying to pick off the Stoog desperately, but the scouting runs don't last any amount of time, so instead I throw some bombardments into the dark, trying to get one hit on the Stoog, but I don't think I get it. And this is sort of just what you have to do with these. These both have 34 kills between them. They're doing a great job. I love the M8A1. And with a doctrine like this, you can really feed it intel. This paragraph group is not very good. To go off on a tangent, there's no way I'll ever have manpower to get this late game. When you look at what I need, it's like armor. I need to be spending my manpower on getting more armor units up, keeping my veteran infantry in good shape, tip-top shape where they can help the battle. And I'm getting a Sherman now. This is just to add a little frontline power to my force, right? If I have a Sherman, and once again, just keeping tabs on the enemy, this power's really cheap. It gives good intel, if not long-lasting intel. It's not really any better than the Majors version. Most of these recon sweep powers actually aren't that good because of that. Everybody has them, basically. But it is on demand. The Major has to get within a certain radius, so... somehow, I guess this must be from a bombardment. There's no way that these guys actually killed 8 people with their guns. But I see immediately that I'm being 2v1'd here. So my general plan is, at this point, I can probably fight and win just by going for it because we're so close to doing it. So I'm going to try and fight the best I can. See my allies bringing in some sort of artillery. I'm pretty sure that's not me. And I'm using my M8A1s to keep distance. My bazooka line makes it dangerous for his Tiger to charge me, which is good. I'm had my lieutenant covering this because I knew he was making a flank thanks to my recon sweep, but he was not able to hold up against that. But I'm microing my MG. I'm trying to suppress both flanks, but I'm getting overwhelmed. There's just too much stuff happening. At this speed, it doesn't look that bad, but for me, it was like, oh, I lost my lieutenant. Oh, I lost my rear echelon. Thankfully, my ally comes in. I'm getting a lot of damage in with my M8A1s. You just really don't want to charge these things, particularly when there's a front line in front of them, and that's exactly what we're providing it. I see this an opportunity to kill the Tiger, so I'm bringing up all my Jackson and my Sherman, trying to focus it down. In the meantime, I'm using a bombardment power on this pack, which is the serious threat here to our armor, which is going to wipe it right now. Once again, the M8A1 proving its value. It's a little too risky with the Jackson. I thought we were overwhelming it. Looks like my ally gets a little scared because the enemy has that pack there. He didn't know I was bombarding it. So, Jackson down. That's not good. I've got the fuel to replace it, though. Once again, this fuel cost just paid off the entire game. One of the nice things about having such a great early game with the Americans, it's really hard to punish that fuel cost. It's really hard for him to push into my lines. So, barely holding on with this 50 cal. Let's just speed it up. I know the game's over. They called GG. There's no way they can actually decap these points in time, so it's worked, basically. You're going to see one of the most amazing like, basically this A1 gets hit by 3 rockets, nothing happens. The Pathfinder artillery is coming in. I'm trying to force them back into it. Oh, the shells are about to drop. Oh, the playback's over. I really think that would have killed the Tiger. But, so that's the strategy, basically. To recap it, it's 2 riflemen, rear echelon, Lieutenant ASAP. Usually, if it's like a team game and you have a nice safe position, put a fuel cache down with your second rear echelon. Get that 50 cal out as quick as you can with your boosted manpower of not having 3 riflemen. Get an ambulance sometime in the mid-game when you can fit it in. And then you need to decide if you're going to use a Greyhound or not. If I was fighting the Ostier player, I almost certainly would have brought one in. They're really good against Ostier because they don't have like a Puma that can lock them down. They fight against the 2-2-2 fairly evenly, if not outclassing it. They don't do great up against packs, but they have really good vision, so they can kind of spot packs and traps. So they're hard to be. As long as you play carefully, the M8 Greyhound is sort of difficult to lose, thanks to its high vision rate and high speed. At the same time as you're getting your M8 Greyhound, you need to get your bazooka research, and you need to start equipping your rear echelons with bazookas so you can protect yourself against Pumas and light armor, and just generally make those rear echelon squads useful. And then from there, it's basically maybe another MG squad if you're feeling it. And then you just need to go into major and just start pumping out M8A1s, and then medium armor like the Jackson and the Sherman to back that up. At some point, you need to pick up your INR Pathfinders so you can start laying down these great bombardments. Usually, you need to pick it up when you have your M8A1 so you can scout. So, that's the strategy in a nutshell. I wish I could have found a little closer of a game to show it off. Maybe this... I might make another one of these, but this was the best game that I had of the night to show it off. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Once again, Recon Support, maybe not the most amazing doctrine, but it's actually a lot of fun. I still haven't ever used this in a competitive game, but I do get the use out of the Greyhound. I do really like INR. Recon Sweep's fine. Forward Observers is pretty good. It's kind of hard to make use of it. The bonus isn't incredible, but thanks for watching. Yeah, good luck out there.